Hey folks, so I'm back with another installment of what I've done on the model railroad. Gonna do some scenery stuff, talk about some scenery stuff, along with some more signaling stuff. So I put some grass down for Corbett, and I put some signs and telephone poles up for where I'm eventually going to put signals. So the way I kind of have it set up is that smaller signs like these are going to be dwarf signals, and telephone poles like this are going to be, let's see, just regular two-head mass signals like you'd see most anywhere on the railroad. And signals that are kind of laying down like this are going to be signal bridges. I've still got to get to a point where I can CAD up dwarf signals and signal bridges. Dwarf signals should not be too bad, but signal bridges are going to be something else. Also made some track changes in Petersville. This town is called Petersville, and Johnny Peters was my campus minister for my bachelor's years at the University of South Alabama. Johnny's someone I think very highly of, so Johnny, if you're watching this is for you, man. But anyway, I kind of made this siding longer because I realized that my passenger train wouldn't fit in between the two signals, and it would kind of mess with operations if I had like a train sitting over a photoresistor for the signal bridge here. It would just make things more complicated, so I decided to rearrange some track before I put scenery down. So Petersville siding's been lengthened, and I kind of moved this little, this used to be a much longer track, but I kind of moved it back over here. Originally I had 4 cars, so that way I could kind of mix things up as far as building trains would go, but I decided to make life a lot easier if I just stuck with 3 cars. But this industry is Clark Paper, and Isaiah Clark was a good friend of mine from high school. Still a good friend I talk to every now and then. So this one's for you if you're watching, Isaiah. That's pretty much it as far as adjustments I've made to the model railroad. So now that we've gotten that out of the way, let's talk some more about signaling. And I'm going to sit down in my chair here. Actually, I'm going to show a diagram for how this is going to work out first. So, as we discussed in the first video, I made the first control point based off of the north end of Corbett, and I have a track diagram for how it works. And if you see top, mid, and bottom, those are the shift registers on my circuit over there. And north is to my right, and south is to my left. And the way it works, the reason I chose it that way is because from where I'm standing, Corbett is north of Petersville in real life. So I decided to make it that way. It looks like the railroad runs east and west, but I chose north and south because Corbett is north of Petersville over here. So I have my diagram right here. And now I'm going to sit down in my chair. And now I'm going to tinker with the circuit a little bit more. So a few additions I made to the circuit were that I added photoresistors for each signal. So this is the photoresistor for the top signal, photoresistor for the middle signal, and photoresistor for the bottom signal. And you can see where I have them all right there. I also added in a button. And this button is to allow the signals to light up when I press it. That way it was kind of a feature I add to add more realism to the signaling apparatus, or the system, I guess you could call it. And B, it was a way for me to be able to operate this without having to continuously go into the code and reset everything. And I incorporated a 30-second timer into this anyhow, I'm explaining all this now, but I can show you how it works right here. So I'm not sure where I have the toggle switches oriented. I'm not sure what indication is going to show up. I'm just going to press the button and see what happens. Okay, so we have a clear, and this is, let's see, so I'm trying to think about this. It's been a while since I've worked with this. I think the way this works is that I've got a clear for a southbound main to main. And now that I say that, it makes sense, because this is for if a train's right here. If a train's right here, it's going to come south and go from main to main. Because if it was going to diverge, it would be a medium clear. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to run the train over it. And the signal goes to red. And in about 30 seconds, something should happen. The servo should reset, I think. But anyway, it'll reset and it'll allow me to go back in and make another indication. Something that I just need to get out of the way right now and say before I forget it mainly is that this toggle switch right here, this yellow one with the yellow wire, is for turnouts, meaning it controls this guy. And this other one is for direction, meaning, see, reset. It's dependent upon the direction of the train. Now, let's say, for instance, the train didn't take that signal and it needed to take the siding instead. I'm going to throw this toggle switch, and I'm going to press the button. And now we have a medium clear. So the train rolls over the turnout, and the signal goes to stop. And we're going to wait about 30 seconds more for it to reset itself so I can go through all the indications. So hopefully you can see how it works right now, but I'm just going to do my best to keep talking because 30 seconds is kind of a long time. I suppose it's a long time to kind of be quiet. Okay. Now, I'm going to change the direction because for some reason now the train needs to go back out of the siding and then go south on the main. So I'm going to change the direction. And now it's got a diverging stricting northbound siding to main, meaning the bottom, the bottom shift register has the signal, meaning this signal is going to be showing a diverging restricting signal. And essentially it's telling the train you're going to diverge from the siding to the main, be prepared to stop. So it rolls over the photoresistor and the indication goes to a stop. And then we wait 30 more seconds for the timer to time out. Kind of did this to give it a little bit more of a buffer space in between when the train crosses over the signal as well. But yeah, we're going to wait for it to time out in a little while. I'm trying my best to keep you folks interested. Don't want any of y'all. Okay, so it reset itself. All right, now it needs to go south from main to main. So we're going to change the switch to normal and change the direction to south. Press the button. Got clear. Rolls over the signal. Signal goes to stop. And the train's essentially gone from here to here. But now, for some reason, it realizes that I guess the engineer realized that he forgot his conductor or something and he needs to back up and pick him up. So the apparatus is going to reset itself. And I'm going to change the direction once it resets itself. Okay. Didn't have to wait very long there. Change the direction. And we have a restricting signal. And this is not a diverging restricting, it's a restricting. Means it's going to go from northbound, main to main. Be prepared to stop. And so it goes over the second photoresistor. And it resets itself. And it's going to reset itself, but it went to stop. I kind of fumbled over my words there a bit. But, yeah, he picked his conductor up, and he's going to wait on the signals to time out, and then head south, get a clear, and head on south. So, waiting on that to happen. Should happen any second. I've already shown it, but I'm just going to light it up again just cause. Okay, so we change the direction. And there we have our clear signal. Alright, so there's that. And this other circuit I have over here that I'm building is going to be for the south end of Corbett. My 3D printer is kind of down, so I'm going to be doing some more coding here. But it's going to be a little complex because South Corbett is going to be this entire area. That control point is going to cover this entire area. It's going to cover the switch from the siding to the yard, main to siding, and main to Weeks Refinery. Sam Weeks was another one of my buddies from college. So Sam, if you're watching this, this is your refinery owned by Morris Oil. Both Quentin and Samuel both work together. I believe they still work together, so I thought this was a cool way to incorporate them both into the model railroad. But Sam, this is your oil refinery over here. Anywho, back to coding. This is going to be quite the job because I'm going to have 3 servos. I managed to get the signals all onto about 5 shift registers. I'm going to have about, let's see, 1, 2, 3. I might can make that 3, 4, 5, 6. About 6 or 7 photoresistors. So there's definitely going to be a lot more moving parts with this one. But kind of my reasoning for doing that one first is because it had a lot less moving parts with it, so it was easier. So I could go ahead and get that out of the way. And if I could do that, I could do all the other control points with relative ease. So with that being said, I'm going to talk a bit about the day I had yesterday. I went out to Meridian's Railfest and had an absolute blast. Got to connect with some old friends and meet some new ones. And this isn't necessarily a paid promotion. It's just something I really like a whole lot. If you haven't already, please subscribe to the Moving America podcast. It's done by John Belcher and Mike Necessary. They're both engineers that work for Norfolk Southern. I got to meet them both yesterday. They're both great folks. The podcast is awesome. Whether you're just kind of like trains or you're an avid rail fan like me, odds are you'll like it a lot. So if you haven't already, please subscribe and give it a listen. And with that, I think that's going to wrap up all the business I have to talk about. I'm going to try and get some of the videos I have from Railfest up as soon as I can. I got a lot of ground to cover, and I guess not a whole lot of time to do it, but anyway, I'm going to do the best I can with what I got. But I hope you enjoyed the video. If you have any questions about what I've done or how all this works, please drop a comment. I'll answer your questions as best as I can. But I hope you enjoyed, and thank you very much for watching. Take care and have a good one.